We got about 10 or 12 minutes. We got to get to a meeting.
All right, fire away.
All right, Coach. We talked to Coach Frost yesterday. He said, Camp Painter status was still kind of TBD. He was feeling some back pain. Has he been able to practice this week?
I mean, the TBD, that's pretty much where Coach Frost left it. So that's where we're at. We still got a little time to figure it out.
Okay. Well, what did you like, I guess, last week about Taven coming in? It was an uncertain situation. There was a lot of weather delay. And I know you guys weren't sure at first what happened to Cam. But just kind of how did you like him coming in and kind of taking control, especially by the fourth quarter?
Yeah, it was cool to see Tay come in and react. He was ready to play, obviously. He had a good week of practice. But, yeah, the moment wasn't too big for him, and he executed when we needed to, made some really nice throws, and ran the offense pretty well. Obviously, being first game, there's a bunch of things that you expect from game one, and the biggest difference that you're going to make in relationship to getting better is going to be from game one to game two. But, yeah, it was good to see Tay go out there, and he obviously made some plays, and he did a good job. He got the ball where it needed to be and took care of the ball. There were some scary moments there, but he did overall handled the offense really well and came out with the win. So obviously going to be some stuff that we're going to clean up, and we have already cleaned up on tape.
When you look at the offense, it seemed in the first quarter sputter a little bit. You had long drives, but you weren't able to finish those off. Were you pleased with how that looked, or do you feel like the tempo needs to pick up or something like that?
Yeah.
Do you need to see more from that, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately there's a ton of different ways to attack that, but big picture, as you pointed out, we did sustain some long drives, which great. That's nice to see. Overcoming some of the things that need to be cleaned up from game one, we were able to do that at times, but when you have to put with penalties and there was like a 20-play drive together with no points, it's not acceptable. And we explained that to the guys, and I think they understand that we have to be more explosive. And you can't shoot yourself in the foot. Our big coaching points to these guys is 1, pad level, it has to come down. 2, eliminate the self-inflicted. It's hard to go on 20-play drives. And then 3, connect on your shots. You can clean up a mistake by being explosive. And at times we showed the ability to do that, but there are a couple things that are just inches away, and this is a game of inches that we have to connect on. It's always good when you put a long drive together, but you have to come up with some points. We want to score touchdowns.
Coach Frost mentioned that Taven had a different kind of fire lit under him when he heard the news that Cam Fancher was being announced as starter. He said that he hopes to see that fire more consistently throughout him, especially off the field, off game time, during practice. Do you see that kind of fire that was lit? Yeah,
I mean, I couldn't agree more. From what I saw from Tay, there seemed to be a new sense of urgency when we announced Cam as the starter. So, new sense of urgency. He just needs to be able to sustain that. He did a really good job in the week, like I mentioned earlier, in the prep. So no one batted an eye when he went in. Obviously tight competition battle to begin with. Those two guys they're good friends and they help each other out. So it's good to see that those guys are both competing and Tay I think he's going to carry over and keep that same passion. That's what we're excited to see.
You just talked about progress from week 1 to week 2. What more do you need to see from the offensive line this week?
Like I mentioned earlier, the big thing that we talked about, and believe me, it's not just the offensive line, it's the whole offense in general, pad level, coming off and finishing blocks, playing through the echo of the whistle, which we stressed that. And, for a lot of these guys with not a ton of experience, first game, I believe that this is going to be it's good tape to watch and it's a good experience to have, and we got to carry over into next week and beyond.
How much is it a lot of new guys still trying to figure each other out?
I don't want to just use that as the crutch saying, okay, it's just new guys. That's just in general, we need to clean up our pad level. Hard to say, being year one and this is the first game, I'm not quite sure, if it's just because this was the first one or the weather delay or, some of the unscouted looks because it's game one. Ultimately, we need to be better in critical situations. What was cool to see when it came down to winning the football game, that's when we executed our best. So we just need to be able to sustain that for 4 quarters and not just spotty.
The difference for week 2 when your week 2 opponent now has current tape on you.
Yeah, big difference. Obviously, you got a little bit more firm feet on the stuff that you implement in the game plan. So you got a better idea in relationship to the looks that you can give the guys throughout the course of the week. But I will say this, it is still only week 2, so there's no rule. I actually checked the rule book. They're allowed to change. So we'll be prepared for those things, and we got to be able to have faster reactions when things aren't windshield wiper clean. Like the reality is the game of football is a lot about executing your assignment, having the detail, but then the game changes, we need to be able to react. And I think that's an area that will grow a bunch from week 1 to week 2.
Coach, I remember back during fall camp, Coach Frost mentioned how with each of the options at quarterback, the offense would kind of shift a little bit toward be a little bit different depending on who was at the helm. What was the shift like going from Cam to Taven, and what was kind of different about each guy taking the helm and making that switch in the game?
Yeah, to your point, each one of our quarterbacks, just like each one of the guys on offense, probably has a skill set that might lean one way or the other into the things that they're good at. Between Cam and Tay, obviously they're pretty similar. I mean, Tay's got a lot of experience doing some of the things that we executed pretty well when he was in the game. It doesn't change the game plan completely, but you obviously lean towards maybe a different third down and long call with a certain quarterback that they're more comfortable with. And we ask the quarterbacks each week towards the end of the week, okay, what are your favorite calls? If it's the game on the line, what call do you like? And, I think that we're just mindful of those things, and we take notes on what they feel comfortable with. And quite honestly, sometimes it seems like it's a little bit random in relationship to maybe the rep that they got in practice and they executed it. So go figure, they like that play, But we feel good about all our quarterbacks being able to operate our system. But Tay does have a pretty good skill set of being able to rip the ball down the field.
Dylan Wade led your team in receiving yards. He had the touchdown in the fourth quarter. Beyond the box score, what did you like about his performance this debut?
Yeah, it was good to see D. Wade made some nice plays when he was targeted. He was able to come up with the football. He's a pretty special athlete. He's a tight end that can pull himself open. He can create separation for himself. He played a bunch of snaps. It was well over 60. That's probably, at the max of what we want him playing in a game, because we got some other guys that can potentially take some of those reps off of him. But in the situation that we were in, we were going to go with the guys that, had some fluidity into the game and kind of dialed in. But, yeah, it was good to see him, D-Wade make some plays in the critical moments, obviously. We just need to be a little bit more consistent. And I'm not just talking about D-Wade. I'm talking about all of our skill guys, all of our offensive line and quarterbacks.
And on that touchdown, Miles Montgomery had the block downfield. What was kind of the reaction of you guys as coaches and seeing that after the fact, to see your running back, to spring him downfield 20, 30 yards?
I mean, you just pull up the tape on 22 and, obviously none of us are perfect, and he obviously had some plays that he'd like back. But Miles, it's 100% all the time. And that's been really cool to see, and I think the best thing about that is his teammates being able to see that on tape. And we showed the entire offense, okay, see this play. Obviously, it's a big-time play by the quarterback and D. Wade, but look at what the effort looks like where 22 is playing through the echo with a whistle, selfless. And we want to see more of that. And it's not like the guys are neglecting to do that. We just need to get those guys an opportunities to finish the play.
Coach, Frost had said before the first game that there was potential that all quarterbacks could see the field. Obviously, we saw that with Fancher going down with an injury. Was that always the plan on Saturday, last week, and then for this week, is there a plan in place to get one, maybe two quarterbacks on the field?
Listen, with some things up in the air right now, a little bit TBD on that, but the reality is we do feel good about the quarterbacks that we have. You got to understand the flow of game. I'm big on this, undersell, over deliver. Not going to go into a room and say like, hey, you're for sure playing this number of snaps, because there's so many things that we can't control as coaches. The game's going to go the way the game goes, so we got to be mindful of that. But what we do tell the guys, not just quarterbacks, like, hey, you got to stay ready, so you don't have to get ready, period.
A lot of guys got touches, wide receivers. What did you see from that group?
Yeah, that's one thing I really like to see. What I really enjoyed seeing the ball get spread around. That means you got a balanced offense, and the wide receivers, like, they competed, they went up and they fought for the balls when they were in the air. It was good to see those guys develop some continuity with both quarterbacks that were in. And for some of these guys, there's just not a ton of experience. Wade and Charles is a true freshman. He made a big-time catch on a third down and long in a critical situation, so that was good. I believe that was a play that extended a drive out that we scored on. So it's really good to see those guys develop some confidence in the first game.
What did they show you differently than you had seen from them in practice in camp?
I would say it's not really like anything that we haven't seen. It was just a little bit more consistent than – listen, you get a lot of reps in practice, and you can't take those for granted, but in practice is a little bit different than the game. Your opportunities are going to be way more minimized. There's just less plays. I tell the guys all the time it's going to be between 65 and 80 plays in the game. You might get targeted on 3 of those. What are you going to do with those opportunities? And I did think all of the skill, particularly wide receivers, they maximize their opportunities.
Obviously not a ton of playing time, but how did you evaluate Cam Fancher's performance through the first quarter, maybe some areas for improvement?
Yeah, for him, it was also limited. I mean, he was a part of a drive and a half. And obviously we took the shot on the first play and we missed that. We'd all like to have that one back, just to get a redo on that, but that's not how the game works. So it's not like he went out and played bad. I mean, there was just a handful of little small details that you would kind of expect from game one, but the expectation is that we're perfect, even though we're not going to always achieve that. And I think that, you know, he played pretty good, but pretty good, okay. That's not good enough, so we're working to get better there.
What was your evaluation of the offensive line and the push that they got in the first game, and where would you like to see them improve going forward?
Yeah, kind of like what we talked about earlier. Pad level is a big one. Finishing plays to the echo of the whistle, straining to make your block work. I mean, ultimately, it's not always going to be, like I said earlier, windshield wiper clean. This is exactly the way the double team looked on scout team. It's not going to be that way because the other team that we're playing, they're good too. They're going to have a plan. They're going to try to muddy things up. So what you would like to see is us to have a little bit faster reactions and stay on blocks and get movement. And, you know, we can't reduce the game down to just be about that. It's more than that. There's technique and there's fundamentals. But on the other side, if it comes down to blocking and tackling, we just got to be a little bit better.
Coach, obviously the rain delay threw off the flow of the game. How did you see your offense's comfort level improve as the game progressed?
Yeah, I mean, that's a game where you wish that you had 4 more quarters so that we can continue to get some continuity and get in a rhythm. That's all game ones. It was good to finally see us break through and you know, obviously have that scoring drive to take the lead. So ultimately, we got more football to play. We're going to continue to practice those things. And now my hope is, okay, now that we've played a game, the practice becomes more of a reality for these guys who know what to expect. And when we get into a game, we'll be able to settle in a little faster.
Last one. Three drives in the fourth quarter. You guys scored 2 touchdowns and got into field goal range. What do you feel like you can build upon from there and carry over? What was there a rhythm or some sort of, you know, things you found in that fourth quarter specifically that can carry over the next week?
Yeah, I think just like what you said, I mean, just organically getting into a rhythm because we've played together and we believe together and we've had some success. Hard to say like what exactly to pinpoint is going to help that continuity. I think it just comes down to confidence in the belief. And yeah, the fourth quarter was a good example of us moving the football. We moved the ball pretty good. I think we have 1 3 and out the whole game. It's just now it's going to come down to finish.
All right, thanks everybody.
Guys, thank you.
Get to a meeting here.
Thanks, Adam. Have a good day, guys.